And well, we've got with us for the Tech Talk on artificial intelligence and video surveillance, AI, deep learning, machine learning. We're looking at different types of AI learning and where is AI today and what are its various applications. We've got once again joining us, Amin Haj Salem, PDM, Government, Access Communications, Middle East and Africa. Well, Amin is the business development manager for the government and the public sector for Access Communications in the Middle East, wherein he's been with Access for over 5 years with various roles in sales and business development. In his role, Amin is responsible for building relationships with the key government bodies and supporting the collective vision towards smart and safer nations. Well, Amin drives top-line conversations on artificial intelligence, governance, smart cities, and infrastructure development. Thank you so much, Amin, for giving us your time and joining us back on the World AI Show. Over to you.
Thank you very much. Just to confirm if you can see my screen right now.
Have you started sharing your screen? I'm not able to currently.
Right, I'm going to share again. You can see right now?
Yes, I can see now. Thank you.
You're most welcome. I just get my colleague that they're not sharing. Can you confirm if you can see it? Again, please, can you see my full screen?
I mean, the team has, from our side, confirmed they can see your screen, and so can I on the back end.
All right, thank you. So I'll just would like to start here. So again, my name is Amin Haj Salem. I'm working for Access Communication. Access Communication is the camera. Yeah. Yeah.
Just stop sharing, please.
I think I got a note that I'm not sharing the full screen, so I just.
Yes, even from our team,
Yeah.
our conference producers just made a note of the same. So we'll just do that once again, Amin.
I'm doing it right now. Hopefully
Perfect.
It will work right now. Is it okay right now?
Yes, perfectly from my side again on the back end, I can see.
Sorry.
Let me just confirm from my team as well from the front end if they can just see the state screen. Just to allow us a moment. Yes, perfect. Amin, thank you so much.
Yeah, always there is a technical challenges will happen, and this is we can expect it. Thank you very much. And again, my name is Amin Haj Salem, working for Access Communication. I am business development manager, mainly responsible for government and public sector within Middle East area. And as a part of the theme of this workshop, also I will be talking about artificial intelligence. And I will go through a presentation trying to explain about our understanding from Access point of view. How do we see artificial intelligence? Also give some facts about the little bit background and many information. So let's start. Many people in our industry are talking about artificial intelligence, or AI for short. At the moment, it's a complex topic that raises a lot of questions. This presentation will hopefully answer some of them. So let's start by defining some of the expressions that are used in the discussion. First of all, artificial intelligence is a branch of computer science that studies and develops methods for simulating intelligent behavior in computers. It can also be used when talking about the capabilities of machine, computer, system, or software to imitate intelligent behavior. There are many subcategories of AI. In this presentation, we'll focus on something called machine learning, and I think many people really heard about this term. Machine learning, which is allow computers to build their own logic to make prediction and decide on things. Without machine learning, a computer needs a human to create algorithm, or what we call it, a software code. Machine learning algorithms figure out relationship between input data and solution using either labeled or unlabeled example. Another subcategory of machine learning, which is what we call it, is a deep learning, whereas the algorithms are placed in layers. Each layer uses the information from previous level to deduce high-level meaning and recognize patterns. This is a more advanced form of AI. There are different types of AI learning. And the first, and by far the most common and most successful, is called supervised learning, where a human being trains a computer to figure out the relations between input data and solution through labels, similar to teaching someone something using flashcard. It can be found in advertisement, spam, classification, and facial recognition. One more type of AI learning called unsupervised learning, where this type, it doesn't use label, but the algorithm is giving a lot of data and tools to understand the properties of the data. The system organizes the data, searches for common characteristics, and adjusts itself. It can be found in recommender system like the one in Netflix or YouTube for detecting buying habits. And we understand how this, we've seen it many times, like other, especially once we visit the online store, we can see that others who bought this item also look to this item. And this is something using this method. Or in this method also we can group user logs to improve a product or to design a frequent asked questions. Another type of AI learning called reinforcement learning, which means that the algorithm learns from its mistakes. Especially in the beginning, a human must give signal to algorithm for a good and bad behavior. Over time, the algorithm learns to make fewer mistakes. It can be found in video games, industrial simulation, in many robotics applications, and resource management. For example, Google's data center used this type of AI learning to balance power and storage opportunities. So, where is AI today? Where can we find applications that use AI successfully? So I'll go through some of the examples right now which we use and available. Image recognition can be used to help detect medical issues, for example, within cancer diagnostics. Object detection and object recognition are the most interesting field for our industry, which is the surveillance. They are already being applied within the surveillance, and the achievement in face detection and identification look highly promising. Character recognition helps in all license plate related use cases, mainly for police and traffic, where they can recognize the vehicle's license plate. And one more application, which is a speech recognition, which is something many of us use in daily basis, talking to Siri, Alexa, or Bixby, for example. The pattern recognition can be used for fraud protection, which can be used by banks to detect unusual patterns in financial activities. quickly can be detected, and we have seen this many times that we receive a call from bank and they're saying there's unusual activities, and such as AI application or method is using for such as purposes. So how AI works? There's a lot of talk about AI, but how does it really work? Is everything automatic? Will the AI learn continuously? Will there be higher accuracy? In order to understand what makes AI successful and also to understand the challenges and limitations, we must dig into the process of AI application. In this presentation, we focus on AI through supervised learning, which we talked about earlier. First, we need to understand the difference between traditional programming and AI. We will take image recognition as an example. In traditional programming, data is collected based on the data. In this case, image of the faces. Programmer write an algorithm or a code that determines what characteristics an image should have for the program to consider it as an image of a face. The finished program is fed into the computer, while for the other one, which is the AI application, we need to train the computer to get the program we want. Data is collected and then labeled or annotated by a computer or humans. The result is fed into the computer or the system, and this process goes on until the AI application has learned enough to detect a face. The trained model becomes a program, is then fed into the computer. And we should note that after we finish this process, the AI doesn't learn anything new after that. The advantage with AI over traditional programming is the extensive labeling. I mean, we should label all these data before we feed it into the system in order to get a program. A computer can go through thousands of images to find more things that characterize a face without losing focus, whereas a human programmer will get tired and unfocused after a while. That's why the AI can make the application substantially more accurate. However, the more complicated the application, the harder it is for the machine to produce the wanted result. So what are the challenges for AI? When we can see and when will AI become truly useful for the surveillance industry? At Axis, with decades of experience from our industry, we know that surveillance systems are not simple off-the-shelf products. And the AI is a tool, is not a solution. And this is how we see it in surveillance within Axis communication. AI is a method or a tool used to approach a very specific problem. It's very important to understand this. It doesn't solve the problem, but it helps to solve the problem. And it's a tool to help to solve a problem. Without an excellent understanding of the problem, the best is worthless. The best tool is the worthless. And the more complicated the application, the bigger the challenge for the AI. And in order to understand all these challenges, we need to address a couple of issues. For example, the data relevance, self-learning, higher accuracy, computer power. And we are going to go a little bit more in details in each of those topics. About the data relevance, let's start with the data collection. And there is an aspect to consider. Is the data relevant enough? Where does the training data come from? If we take the example of facial recognition, we must take into consideration that different parts of the world have different facial characteristics and also different type of images. What about different situations and the way faces differ? Compare a pretty holiday picture once we train the system or AI system taken with a regular camera with the forensic images from a security camera. This is the challenge. Consider also the angle. A stage picture often shows a face straight on the camera, whereas the picture from surveillance have different angles, a side face or back face, or and so on. Most picture database today are based on your normal holiday snap or on-stage photos, and not surveillance footage. And this is really a big challenge. And the more specific your case, the less data you need. And the more general, then you need more data. And of course, you need to consider different type of this data and more data, like having, in this case, face detection. You need to have a young and old faces. You need to do facial with hair or without, men, women, and kids, and so many different faces, black and white and stuff like that. The other challenge, which we talked about, the legal aspect, which is about privacy. And privacy is a big topic in many parts of the world. As a manufacturer, you might need to prove that your data has been acquired legally, which we call it, I think everybody aware about the GDPR. The end user might have an interest in its region and the legal right to know. They want to know from where you are getting this data to train your AI system. And this is some of the challenges as well. Let's talk about, again, the self-learning, which is unsupervised learning. Also, this is one of the challenge of AI. So first of all, the self-learning process is unsupervised. Many people think of all AI as being self-learning, but bear in mind that the most applications using AI are supervised. There's no control over the self-learning process. First of all, it can take a long time. The analytics must have the chance to learn. If this place is automated, or if this process is automated, the application needs some more reference, which means that something has to happen in the scene within the surveillance. If you monitor an area in which nothing happens for a long period, for example, in case of surveillance, the emergency backdoor, the calibration might take a long and very long time in order and wait to have more events happening for such as low movement areas or less movement. The other challenge within the self-learning is called transparency, and how you are not able to trace possibilities. If there are problems, you get the simple advice to start this entire self-learning again, because you cannot really go and use the previous version. You need to start the self-training again and again. You cannot use continue from where you reach. And the other challenge within also self-learning, you cannot evaluate the quality, since you don't know what has been selected and what has been rejected by the AI. So you have no control. And last but not least, the data depends on the quality of the data collected. Where are the cameras placed? What are the settings? What kind of cameras are there? Unsupervised learning required a specialized case per camera and per scenario. The other challenge is higher accuracy. Higher accuracy, there has been a lot of progress with AI application in the past few years, but the use case and the complexity define how well it will work. The more narrow or more specific the use case, the better the potential result. Repeating the learning will result of course, for higher accuracy. Today, within surveillance, the expectation of AI is really high and big, and so far achievement is really very narrow. And the last challenge of AI, which is the computer power demand. To successfully run an AI application, you will need a lot of computer power. The drastic increase in performance of computer platform for resources-hungry application is making things possible which you cannot achieve with traditional CPUs, which we already have right now, and you need extra hardware. However, they are power-hungry, and they need cooling. This is the main reason why high-end and complex analytics often are server-based and not edge-based. You cannot run it in the camera. You need the servers and with high power. Let's talk about access and AI. So first, we need to understand the challenges in the surveillance industry. Our solution or the surveillance must work around the clock through the year, so 24/7, 365. They have to handle bad weather, insects, shadows. Many locations have different seasons with the great fluctuation in temperature. There are different light conditions. A lot of light conditions. There's light, night, and there's so many night and day, and there's front lights and many different types of lights. We need to handle those ones. And every installation has its own settings and has own different type of cameras. So these are the challenges which we face within surveillance today. Just to give you an example, is this a cat? Everyone knows that this is a cat, but what about this one? But this one is also a cat, and this one also a cat. So if you want limited amount of false alarm, this is what your AI needs to learn within surveillance. It's not that easy. It's obviously much more complicated than to train the AI to analyze an image. So you can see the challenges we are facing within the surveillance. Another example here, how many cars you can see in these pictures. How many of them do you think an AI analytics could detect? Maybe one or two, that's it, and the rest cannot be detected by current AI available in the market. So what is needed for successful AI within surveillance? We need really to have a good light condition, pixel density, a good pixel density, a very defined use case. This is very important. This is how we leave it in access. We need to define a use case, not to solve a problem, actually to identify the problem and then to use the AI. And of course, we need to have additional servers hardware for complex applications. Let's take an example from a surveillance industry. We have a company called Citilog. It's a company within the Access group. It's part of Access. And they have developed a software. It's called Automatic Incident Detection, or AID. This software or program checks the videos from traffic surveillance cameras and automatically identifies situations that the operator should know about it. It has recently been significantly improved through the use of deep learning algorithm. By using a deep learning, AI phase, of course, we understand the application can face many of the can detect incident, but also can make mistakes and create false alarm. The false alarm could be caused by many different factors like shadows, vehicle headlights, reflection, wet road, surfaces, birds, and many others. And once we apply the deep learning, actually, we managed to reduce all the false alarm by 90%. And of course, using the deep learning and with our experience collecting images to train the AI application from 20 years, which once we started to use these applications. So this has been reduced and the accuracy has been increased by 90%. And this is a good example how deep learning or AI can help to improve such as use case within the traffic. And we use it in Access and Citilog. So this is my last slide. So I'll be talking about the summary and about what we have talked about so far. AI is a tool that already works really well in some fields, for example, in healthcare. So the field of surveillance is extremely complex with lots of things to consider. The lack of definable condition in our industry limits the possibility of AI. Most of AI applications today are based on very good set of available training data. Where there are millions of data sampled, there is not always the case for the surveillance industry. If there is a limited impact on accuracy and performance, AI will not be worthwhile from time and cost perspective. In a specific use case within surveillance, we will be able to draw all the benefits from AI within a not too distant future. And last, AI will always be just an extra tool in the video analytics toolbox, but not the solution as such. So it's a part of the solution. It's a part of analytics box, which will help to have really a good program and to solve problem. You will always need to experience and help from a human to create a reliable surveillance system that delivers what you want and decrease the amount of false alarm. And that's it from my side. Thank you very much. And if you have any question.
Thank you so much, Amin. Well, what an incredible presentation that was. And thank you for taking out your time and being a part of the World AI Show. Well, unfortunately, we are falling in short of slide time, Amin, so we'll have to carry on as our next panel is awaited. Thank you so much for your time once again, Amin.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it.